is Dr. Bruno Chareyon, who is a nuclear engineer from France and works with a group that CREOP. He'll explain.
So you just go on the desk and you check CRERAD. Hello everybody. So CRERAD means Commission for Independent Research and Information about Radiation. It's a non-profitable organization which has been created in France after the Chernobyl accident in 1986 because our government told us that in France we had no radioactive fallout from Chernobyl, which is a lie, which was wrong. So a group of people hired scientists, bought equipment, and we set up a private and independent laboratory. So our goal is to measure radiation everywhere and to let people know about the contamination of their environment. So you have some pictures just to illustrate what we do. We go on site, we measure radiation with portable equipment. We get samples, we bring them back to the laboratory, we analyze them, and so we can have our own measurements of the radioactive pollution of our environment. So here, on this chart, you see that when you speak about uranium, you know that uranium is radioactive, but you have to know that uranium is always associated with certain other radioactive elements, like radium, which has been discovered by Marie Curie, like radon, which is a gas which gives cancer to the lung, and like polonium-210, this very toxic substance that killed Litvinenko, you know, in the UK. Well, it was at very high doses. But what I want you to understand is that when you deal with uranium, you deal with a lot of radioactive substances. On this chart, you see, for example, the dose coefficients of some natural substances like uranium, polonium, which are in blue. And in yellow, you have the same kind of dose coefficient for plutonium. You just see that some of the substances that are associated with uranium in blue are a higher toxic power, the dose compared to the number of becquerel you guess compared to plutonium. So those substances are radiotoxic. And when uranium is in the ground, like 100 meters deep, there is no danger at the surface because the soil will stop alpha, beta, and gamma radiation. But when you begin to dig it out, you will spread away radioactive dust, radon gas, and you will increase water pollution because the water will go through cracks and get this radioactive material and spread it away. So now I will tell you about what we did in Niger. We have been invited to Niger to check radiation near the two big mines, open pit mines, run by an Areva subsidiary called Somaïr, and also underground mines which are developed by another Areva subsidiary company, Cominac. This is one of the biggest underground mines in the world. The total length of tunnels is 250 kilometers. So we have been invited there by this man, Mr. Al-Mustafa Halassan. He is the president of a local NGO called Ageriman, which means in Tamashek, the local language, which means the shield of your soul. So their goal is to protect people's health and to educate people. So it was very difficult to prepare this mission, and a few days before getting over from France to Niger, Al-Mustafa called me and told me that the companies and the local authorities were putting pressure on him to cancel the mission. But we decided together to go on. We were the first passengers when landing in Africa to be checked, and our equipment for monitoring had been confiscated by the authorities. But we had very small gigahertz in our pocket that looked like cell phones, and they did not understood it was a gigahertz. So we went to the area in the desert, and we began to make some checks. I will summarize what we discovered. First point is the fact that you have radioactive scrap metal, which is sold on the market. This is a tube pipe which we discovered with our Gaggle mirror. It's active because the contamination inside with radium, because this pipe comes from the uranium mill. First problem, people use radioactive scrap metal for their everyday life. On this picture you have a little house which is made of crushed drums, and this is the house of one of the workers of the big Areva, French Areva company that is developing, extracting uranium. Second point we discovered, we sampled water and discovered that water is contaminated with uranium radium. And for example, some of the samples give a dose to the people which is 10 times above WHO standards. So the water which is given to the workers and to the population is contaminated. And what is very shocking in all this story is the fact that the official data and the official statement that the company Areva gives to the people is everything is okay. If you read French, you see on this sentence, which has been, which I extract from a press kit, Areva press kit during the year 2005. It's written, we Areva check water contamination, and we find no contamination, which is absolutely wrong. We found out it's wrong, and other official laboratories too get the same figures, water is contaminated. Another problem is the fact that you have a lot of radiant gas which is pushed in the atmosphere, because if you want the miners to breathe less radon in the tunnels, you have to vent the tunnels. So this gas, radioactive gas, is just sent in the atmosphere, but who will breathe it? The population. So even official Areva monitoring data show that the people near those vents in the cities of Akokon and Arlis get doses to the lung which exceed maximum annual dose permits. But the information which is given to the population in France and everywhere is that there is no problem, which again is a lie. Another type of problem is the fact that radioactive dust is spread away by the very powerful winds in the desert. On this picture you have piles of uranium ore. This black color, it's uranium. So you can imagine that as those piles are in the open air, the wind just can blow away radioactive dust. Another problem is the fact that the mills that extract uranium produce a huge amount of radioactive mud, which is called tailings. They are 35 million tons in Niger. And those tailings, this is from France, just to show you it's like mud. And we go back to Niger now. In Niger, the tailings are just in the open air. You see it on this picture. So again, the wind can just blow away radon and dust. Another discovery is the fact that you have radioactive rocks from the mines which are just reused for construction or building roads. The next picture has been taken in front of the hospital, which is run by the companies in the city of Akokon. And the dose rate on the road is 100 times above natural value just because radioactive rocks have been reused. So when we discovered that, we wrote to Areva CEO, Mrs. Lauvergeon, to ask her to do something. She never replied to our letter, and we know that this has been decontaminated more than 6 months after what we did. So we will stop the picture. I will just summarize the point. The point is that anytime we check radiation near uranium mines, will be in France, in French territory, or like in those examples in Niger, we discover that the company are lying. They don't give exact information about the contamination to the population. And that's why it's very important to have a critical mind, do not believe the companies, and support local NGOs, local tribal people, local people there, and independent scientists, and try to create here in the States independent groups of scientists that can help the people near nuclear plants or uranium mines to have a proper information about the contamination. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from actor and activist James Cromwell.